This is the embarrassing part, because I know that as an artist you're supposed to sketch constantly. You're supposed to have a sketchbook. Draw people you see around you in the bus or airport or whatever. And I always had sketchbook because I thought I ought to do that and that was necessary, but I never liked it. I do of course have one, so what I'm going to share with you is some of the paintings or sketches I did at the beginning of the enthusiasm of a new sketchbook. So it'll be short.
It's okay.
Okay. I like this brown paper. And this book I brought to Seattle in America to do some landscape paintings together with a friend and another magic artist named Tyler Jacobson. And he took me up to the Twin Peaks Falls, and we had an afternoon in the forest and we painted. The sketching of figures did not really appeal to me. What else can I do than sit there and draw semi-perfect drawings? I could draw landscapes because that's something I really enjoy. So that's why the brown paper. I can use white to add lights, and that way I have the whole range of contrast and light. I enjoy the aspect of working with colors rather than sketching in line. And I never felt like I was good at drawing. I always felt like the drawing part was the hardest part for me, and the stages where all the pencil work, all the drawings is preliminary. It's work I do up until the real work starts when I start painting. Over-rendering in my sketch phase, it's redundant work. It kills the process. It kills the enjoyment I have in having it take place on paper. Especially for my work in magic, it takes a lot of planning to make the composition nice and good. So what I will do is I will spend a lot of time creating small thumbs illustrations to make sure that I have the narrative nailed down and that I solve a nice and clear composition. And that takes a lot of tries. So usually I go through 5 to 20 thumbs where I just try different things. Even though I like the first one, I still try different ones, just to make sure that my initial gut feeling was right. Sometimes I just hate myself and say, oh, you've done this 1,000 times, try something new. And then I find one of the odd ones, and I'm like, oh, maybe I could use this for something, right? Because we have a tendency to do the stuff that we're good at, repeat ourselves. And I really, really want to avoid that. But every single painting I'm doing or drawing, I try to think of a way to improve it, to make it clearer or make it more appealing or engaging, or can I change this to make it more interesting? And I constantly ask these questions in order for me to stay sharp and critical about my own work. And then after I made my composition and my narrative for the drawing, then I will fine sketch what I'm doing. So especially if it's a human figure, I will do a full, like a big sketch of that figure, so I get a good expression, I get all the details and the design and everything right. And that will be like a real sketch. First of all, this is also just works from the forest in Denmark. And at the harbor one day. I really enjoy making the small ones because there's no one waiting for them. There's no art director like giving them a thumbs up or down. It's just for the pure pleasure of just painting. And if it doesn't work, I can just don't show it to anyone. It's except for now. So don't look at this one. Let me see if I can. So this is some notes to my presentation I did yesterday. So I started sketching a little figure, like a fairy sitting on a branch. I wanted it to look like a wildlife photo of a creature that does not exist. I like that idea a little bit. So I did some. I thought maybe it was the composition or the pose that was wrong. So I did some other sketches of the composition. I didn't like this one because it's too much of a sideway composition. But I like the moodiness of her resting her chin in her hand. And then I did another one like this, but it felt for me too much pin-up posy. And I really try to avoid sexiness in drawing now. Some people still like it, but for me it's too tired. I want to make engaging characters. Then they can be pretty and they can be sexy, but only if they themselves think they're sexy. I think there's a huge difference. So all of this combined turned into this girl. As soon as I got her expression, I knew that this was what I wanted to do, because she seems self-sufficient and happy, and like she belongs on that branch. So for me, it's a lot about gut feeling, about do I like this? Do I don't like it? And if I like it, I try to enhance what I like about it. I really like the way her pose is closed, but her face is open. Especially in fantasy, painting women, I really consider what I can do to not go into stereotypes. None of us anymore want to see the girl lying up against the leg of the barbarian, because that's just dumb. I would rather have the woman crushing the barbarian now.
You always created creatures, right? Work in fantasy, like, where does that come from?
In the late 80s, a friend of mine got this weird game for Christmas, and he said, we were always playing board games, and one Christmas he said, I got this strange game for Christmas, it's called Dungeons and Dragons, and come down and play it, and by the way, it's got no board. And I was like, what? That's okay, let's just try this game. And that was the opening. That was mind-blowing. This game let you do whatever you want. That was appealing. But the best thing was, when you flip through the rule books, there was only black and white illustrations. So I was completely bewildered that this is the only window into this world that only exists in our mind. Like on a map where you see the white areas in Africa where no one has been and no one has drawn out the maps yet. I was like, this is it. This is untrod territory. I can put anything I want into this area and maybe one day be king.
How old were you?
I was 13, I think, yeah. I even remember looking at the book, looking at the drawings, thinking, this is what I want to do when I grow up. It took me 20 years. From that moment and until I illustrated Dungeons and Dragons, that was like a steady goal for 20 years. And I think that's why fantasy really appeals to me, is that there's no one dictating what you can do and what you can't. And it's your interpretation of stuff. And if you can sell the idea of a six-legged dragon made out of diamond and metal, and you can make it look cool and right, that's your vision, and no one can argue with it. People can say they don't exist. Yeah, I know, but and that's where the nature comes in, because if you're trying to make the audience believe that the six-legged dragon of diamond is real, you gotta know what a diamond looks like, and you also gotta place the diamond dragon in a cave or a mountain ridge that looks like a real mountain ridge, because the credibility from you being able to paint real life and adding an unreal creature sells the idea of the creature being alive. That's also why I try in all my paintings to have a sense of captured in the moment, so that I will always have like leaves flying in the air or birds flying away from the terrible action, or have something that is moving in the painting, so that we get this sense that this is frozen in time. It actually took place. Recently, over the last year, I've been very inspired from how the camera lens work, because I started doing photography, and I try to add like stuff in the foreground that is very much out of focus, and keep the background very blurry, so that I get this sense of, this is what we are out-focusing on, and this is the real deal. This creature here in the little glade, it's real. Don't disturb it. This was not always something I did, because a friend of mine, one of my idols, Todd Lockwood, who did a lot of Dungeons and Dragons illustrations. He saw some of my work and he said, you should try to make your characters more moving so that you capture their movement mid-motion rather than standing still and ready. And that clicked for me. I was like, I looked at my stuff and I was like, this dwarf is just standing still, ready for the action. He's not part of the action.
Did you have anything else to show there? Or not? No, that was the last.
That was it. Give me 5 minutes, I'll draw something.
Yeah.
Oh.
A drawing or paint, whatever.
Oh, I only got a pencil,
Well,
so let's go.
Do you know what you're gonna do?
Not at all. No idea. Yeah, I might better do a creature of some kind. I'm just gonna do a stupid goblin. They're very much like the worst in human. They're greedy and lazy and aggressive, and they have all the worst traits of a human, unfiltered, without a super ego. I think fantasy was influenced by that old knight myth of a knight being able to save the damsel in distress from the dragon. On the other hand, I also think that was one of the beauties about the game, is that as a guy, you could play a female cleric if you want. So all of a sudden, you could explore how it was to be the other sex. I think it opened up a lot of ideas for people that this could be different. When I was a younger artist, I was heavily inspired by my favorite artist. I was in love with artwork by Paul Bonner, and Kevin Walker, and Frank Frazetta, and I was influenced by a couple of comic book artists, and some of the artists that I worked for as a colorist was a big inspiration for me. So at some point I think my style just became a mix of whatever I liked, and I was so conscious about having to gain a style that was my own. And one of the art directors I had said that they really liked my style, and I was like, what is it? Tell me so I can keep doing it. And he defined for me what it was that he liked in my artwork, that it was stylized yet playful and appealing, and yet also had the qualities from hardcore fantasy. So I thought long and hard about that, and I thought, this is my style now. I think it's always fun that goblins have weapons they made themselves, and also stupid weapons. So I think this guy will have a fork he put on the tip of a stick. It's not really that dangerous.
You go to your studio every day and then work on your stuff.
When I go to the studio, I'm immediately in my work mode, because I go away from my home, I go to my studio, say hi to everyone, and I have all my tables and everything set up, start the computer, and I'm ready to draw right away. I can very easily go into the work mode, and I can also leave it again when I'm done.
What do you do after that?
I go back to my family, or go out, watch birds, and take pictures and stuff like that. Play role-playing games. A lot of role-playing games.
You love it.
Yeah. We play every Monday, and I play with the same guys I've been playing with for 25 years. We no longer play characters anymore. We just play ourselves. The one guy, he's always the greedy merchant, right? And the other guy's always the righteous paladin. I'm always the killer. Well, we argue. We really argue, and we hate each other. There was a girl at the studio. She didn't know that my phone call was about the role-playing game. So I was saying, I don't know how Peter could do that. It's my wife. He fucked my wife. I'm gonna kill him. He's gonna suffer. You don't fuck another man's wife. And the girl at the studio is best friends with my wife, so she was just like, "Holy, this is horrible! What's happening?" And she was just like listening, like, "Oh no, the world is falling apart." And then there was something about a fighter and a magic, and she was just like, "Wait a minute." Okay, phew, they're not talking about real life, but the passion was real. I'm actually still really mad about Peter for impregnating my fantasy wife, even though it's 10 years ago. All right. Here's the goblin. It's got 1 million.
Okay.
That was fun.
Jesper.
Yeah, thank you. That was really fun.